An elderly couple panicked and reported to the police after discovering a skeleton in the attic of their 3-story house in Cixi City, Zhejiang Province, China. The deceased was a male, dead for at least 10 years, with body parts dismembered, indicating brutal murder. Residents around the area where the skeleton was found were shocked, wondering what exactly had happened. Today, we bring to you a case that has shocked the public and media in China due to the cruelty of the perpetrator and the motives behind the crime. Before diving into the details, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss any of our new videos. This story is based on a true criminal case in China. On March 7, Mr. Zhu and his wife went up to the attic to clean after frequently noticing a strange smell. Before this, a foul odor had emanated around the couple's house, but they endured it for a long time. At first, Mr. and Mrs. Zhu thought the smell came from a canal filled with garbage and waste near their neighbor's house. However, even after the canal was renovated, the odor persisted. Finally, after inspecting the attic, the elderly couple was shocked to find a human skeleton with dismembered body parts. Mr. and Mrs. Zhu quickly reported the situation to the police, who arrived at the scene shortly after receiving the news. At the scene, police found a rusty axe, a telephone cord, and a decomposed suit, revealing faded cloth remnants, evidence of a long time left forgotten. During a thorough search, police found a valuable clue, a wallet containing a business card bearing the name Hu Jianmin, who was deputy director of a plastic manufacturing factory in Cixi City. This discovery stunned Mr. and Mrs. Zhu, as Mr. Zhu immediately recalled that Hu Jianmin was the former boyfriend of his daughter, Zhu Dan. It had been exactly 10 years since Hu Jianmin disappeared without a trace. Reflecting on this, Mr. Zhu silently thought of his daughter. Zhu Dan, a person the family had always trusted and loved, was now entangled in a dark, mysterious story. In the victim's wallet, the police also found an identification card belonging to Hu Jianmin. Following the information on the card, they reached out to Hu Jianmin's father. Upon hearing the news about his son, Hu Jianmin's father was stunned and broke down in tears. 10 years earlier, Hu Jianmin had abruptly left the family, saying he wanted to pursue business far away. Despite their worries, the family continued receiving news about him. However, Hu Jianmin did not directly update his family. The person who contacted them was Zhu Dan. Zhu Dan was the one who relayed messages, saying that Hu Jianmin was fine, working, and would soon reach out to the family. Hu Jianmin's father tearfully recounted how, each time the family inquired about their son's whereabouts, Zhu Dan would only give vague reasons. Zhu Dan often claimed that Hu Jianmin was facing difficulties and didn't want the family to worry, so he didn't stay in touch. Because of Zhu Dan's words, Hu Jianmin's family accepted this explanation, although they harbored many doubts and questions. When investigators probed further, Hu Jianmin's father recalled that he once asked Zhu Dan for detailed contact information to reach Hu Jianmin directly, but each time she refused, giving various excuses. This had previously made Hu Jianmin's family suspicious, but no one considered the possibility that Hu Jianmin might have met with misfortune. Hu Jianmin's family always believed he simply wanted to build his career independently and avoid troubling the family. The name Zhu Dan became the focal point of the investigation. The last time anyone saw Hu Jianmin was when he was still in a relationship with Zhu Dan, living harmoniously together. Hu Jianmin and Zhu Dan had introduced each other to their respective families, and Hu Jianmin's family was very pleased with Zhu Dan. Xu Dan was considered a gentle, beautiful, and elegant woman, perfect in the eyes of her boyfriend's family. However, just over a month after Hu Jianmen's disappearance, Xu Dan married someone else. As if there had never been a deep relationship with Jianmen. Xu Dan worked as an employee at the Education Bureau in Cixi City. After her marriage, she had a stable family life with her husband and 2 children. In everyone's eyes, Xu Dan was a kind wife, a caring mother, and a diligent employee. However, the sudden discovery of a body believed to be Hu Jianmen, along with strange evidence at the scene, shattered the image Xu Dan had built over the years. When summoned for questioning, Xu Dan appeared flustered. Under police interrogation, she insisted she knew nothing about Hu Jianmen's disappearance. Xu Dan claimed she had heard news of Hu Jianmen's disappearance through an acquaintance but could not provide the name or address of the person who informed her. Friends and family said that Hu Jianmen and Xu Dan had once been a lovely couple, inseparable. Hu Jianmen loved Xu Dan so much that he accepted career sacrifices just to spend time with her. However, a major conflict eventually arose between them. Hu Jianmen wanted to get married, but Xu Dan showed signs of hesitation. Many speculated that Xu Dan had fallen for another man, whom she married only a month after Hu Jianmen's disappearance. From this, police began forming various hypotheses. Could Xu Dan be involved in Hu Jianmen's disappearance? Or was there a secret Xu Dan had been hiding for the past decade? The tensions between Hu Jianmen and Xu Dan, along with rumors about another man, led the police to question Xu Dan's involvement in the case. Mr. Xu Dan's father found himself in a difficult position. He never imagined his daughter could be connected to such a horrifying case. In Mr. Xu's mind, his daughter was always a kind-hearted girl who cared about everyone. However, the suspicious details of the case left Mr. Xu wondering, had he misunderstood his own daughter? In the early days of investigating Hu Jianmen's mysterious disappearance, the police discovered a series of suspicious details, unveiling dark secrets hidden in the relationship between Hu Jianmen and Xu Dan. The police questioned members of Hu Jianmen's family thoroughly, gradually piecing together events from the day he left. 10 years ago, on a fateful evening, Hu Jianmen attended his cousin's wedding. It was a joyful occasion, but it was the last time anyone saw him. After the party, Hu Jianmen did not return home, leaving his family very worried. Hu Jianmen's father, Mr. Hu, immediately sensed that something was wrong. Mr. Hu sent dozens of messages to his son through a pager, but all he received in return was silence. The next morning, Mr. Hu Jianmen heard from his son's friends that he had gone to his girlfriend Xu Dan's house after the wedding. Driven by worry, Mr. Hu went to Xu Dan's house to ask about his son's disappearance. When meeting Hu Jianmen's father, Xu Dan recounted that she and her boyfriend had had a big argument the previous night. After the argument, Hu Jianmen, in anger, left, leaving Xu Dan feeling exhausted and confused. Mr. Hu left Xu Dan's home in a distressed state. He tried to remain calm, but her answers didn't reassure him. About an hour later, unexpectedly, Xu Dan called Mr. Hu and said that Hu Jianmen had contacted her, asking to borrow 60 yuan to leave the city and start a new life elsewhere. Xu Dan told Mr. Hu that she and her boyfriend arranged to meet at the bank to hand over the money. Mr. Hu's unease peaked. To prevent his son from making a rash decision, he immediately rented a car and called 7 relatives to go to the bank, hoping to find Hu Jianmen and convince him to return. When they arrived at the bank, Mr. Hu saw only Xu Dan standing there. Zhu Dan said Jianmin had just taken the money and left, saying he wouldn't return until he had earned some money. These words made Mr. Hu and his companions even more anxious. They immediately split up to search the train and bus stations, hoping to stop Jianmin. However, all efforts were in vain. Hu Jianmin vanished without a trace, leaving his family shocked and heartbroken. Time passed, 1 year, then 2, and eventually a whole decade. Mr. and Mrs. Hu remained in their old home, filled with memories of their missing son, longing for the day he would return. Countless times, they had asked family and friends to help search for Hu Jianmin everywhere, but all efforts were fruitless. Then, the strange scene in the attic, where a body believed to be Hu Jianmin's was found, reawakened the painful memories for his family. To ensure accuracy, the police conducted DNA testing between Hu Jianmin's parents and the body. The results matched. The unfortunate man in the attic was none other than Jianmin. This revelation plunged Mr. Hu's family into despair. They had waited 10 years only to learn the horrifying truth that their son had been murdered and that the culprit was none other than Zhu Dan. When summoned for questioning, Zhu Dan initially tried to maintain her composure, but under intense interrogation, she couldn't hide the truth forever. After hours of questioning, Zhu Dan finally bowed her head and admitted to killing Hu Jianmin. From that moment, the darkest aspects of their relationship gradually surfaced. What had Hu Jianmin and Zhu Dan gone through in the past that led Zhu Dan to decide to kill her boyfriend? It turned out that between Hu Jianmin and Zhu Dan, there had once been a passionate but also complicated and turbulent love affair. In the 1980s, Zhu Dan and Hu Jianmin were still middle school classmates. They had a good relationship in junior high, sharing many common interests. After graduating from middle school, Hu Jianmin and Zhu Dan remained in contact. In 1990, when Jianmin left to serve in the military, Zhu Dan saw him off. Both Zhu Dan's and Hu Jianmin's families observed all of this and felt reassured about the two, considering them as a couple. Later, Zhu Dan graduated from university, and Hu Jianmin completed his military service. Both started working in Cixi City. By then, Hu Jianmin had grown into a handsome man, tall and sturdy from his military background, with a firm yet gentle personality, while Zhu Dan had become a slender, sweet young woman. After reconnecting, Hu Jianmin and Zhu Dan began seeing each other more frequently, and before long, they developed romantic feelings for one another. Zhu Dan deeply liked Hu Jianmin, who understood her well. Both families also fully supported their relationship. Hu Jianmin was handsome, ambitious, and treated Zhu Dan better than any other man. They spent many happy years together because of this. However, a few years later, Zhu Dan faced growing concerns. Her classmates had all found good partners and were enjoying happy married lives. At that time, although Hu Jianmin treated Zhu Dan well, his career showed no signs of progress. Zhu Dan began to wonder how they would raise and support children if she married Hu Jianmin. So, one day in early December 1996, when Hu Jianmin brought up marriage with Zhu Dan, she hesitated. Hu Jianmin then asked her why she was hesitating. At first, Zhu Dan didn't want to reveal her reasons to him, but after he repeatedly asked, she finally shared her thoughts. Zhu Dan honestly told him that he lacked the financial means to support a family. She needed a husband with a stable job who could provide for their family. Such words struck a blow to Hu Jianmin's male pride, leading to an argument between them. Finally, Hu Jianmin angrily declared he would go elsewhere to work. He told Zhu Dan that if he became successful, she should not come crying to ask him to marry her. From that point on, Hu Jianmin left Xu Dan. Xu Dan knew she had raised her voice, but she wasn't worried. She simply cried into her hands. At that moment, Xu Dan believed that someone as gentle and loving as Hu Jianmin would certainly come back. But according to Xu Dan's testimony, after Hu Jianmin left that day, she never heard from him again. More than 10 days after that day, Hu Jianmin's family came to see Xu Dan and learned that he had left. Xu Dan cried loudly and told Hu Jianmin's family about the conflict between them. Her face bore the mark left by Hu Jianmin's slap during their argument. Hearing Xu Dan's words, Hu Jianmin's family felt quite guilty. They immediately hugged and comforted her, patting her back and scolding him for his wrongdoing. Since then, with Hu Jianmin's disappearance, Xu Dan's contact with her former boyfriend's family gradually lessened. Shortly afterward, Xu Dan found another man who loved her deeply, and she decided to get married. Xu Dan's husband was a government official. With some financial means, they married happily, and soon after, they had a son. It seemed that Hu Jianmin's disappearance was because he wanted to cut ties with his family, but on March 7, Xu Dan's parents went to clean the attic and found her former boyfriend's skeleton. In the dimly lit interrogation room, Xu Dan sat opposite the sharp gaze of the police. Finally, under psychological pressure, she began to recount the secret story she had hidden for 10 years. Everything originated from a love, but that same love was dominated and destroyed by calculation and family pressure. Xu Dan and Hu Jianmin once shared a beautiful romance. They spent years together, creating unforgettable memories, but the difference in their family backgrounds became an invisible barrier that grew. When questioned by the police, Xu Dan revealed that her mother disapproved of Hu Jianmin. Xu Dan was the daughter of a well-off, retired government official's family, whereas Hu Jianmin's family only owned a modest, old 3-room tile house. Xu Dan's mother, hoping for a prosperous future for her daughter, initially liked Hu Jianmin, but changed her attitude after seeing his lack of progress over the years. Xu Dan's mother advised her to choose a husband with a stable position, especially someone working in government. The constant pressure from her mother weighed heavily on Xu Dan, causing her to doubt her choice. While Xu Dan was still dating Hu Jianmin, her mother introduced her to another man. This man was a government employee with a stable job and a well-off family background. He would later become Xu Dan's husband. Although she still felt affection for Hu Jianmin, Xu Dan grew weary under her mother's persuasion and the comparisons between the two men's family situations, and ultimately followed her mother's wishes. Xu Dan couldn't bring herself to break up with Hu Jianmin, so she began dating both men simultaneously. Xu Dan hoped that one day everything would naturally resolve itself without her having to make a painful decision. However, things did not unfold as Xu Dan expected. On the day of Hu Jianmin's cousin's wedding, a friend revealed to him that he had seen Xu Dan taking wedding photos with another man a few days earlier. This truth hit like a painful blow, shattering Hu Jianmin's trust. He immediately drove to Xu Dan's house, filled with anger and heartbreak. When he saw Xu Dan, Hu Jianmin relentlessly questioned her, demanding an explanation. At that moment, Xu Dan had no choice but to honestly admit that she had decided to marry someone else. To prove it, she even showed him her wedding photos. The wedding photos were like daggers to Hu Jianmin's heart, making him unable to control his emotions. Hu Jianmin, devastated, begged Xu Dan to reconsider and give their relationship one last chance. However, Xu Dan had made up her mind and didn't want to hold on any longer. Despite Hu Jianmin's despair, Xu Dan remained silent, trying to appear cold to avoid being swayed. Realizing there was no hope left, Hu Jianmin uttered a final, despairing statement. He said that if they were to break up, he no longer wanted to live. Zhu Dan then handed him a bottle of sleeping pills and challenged him to take them. Unexpectedly, in his anguish and rage, Hu Jianmen swallowed more than 20 sleeping pills, a final cry of a betrayed man. Moments later, Hu Jianmen collapsed onto the bed, losing consciousness. Watching her boyfriend pass out, Zhu Dan was terrified. At that moment, Zhu Dan briefly considered calling the police for help, but fear of the consequences stopped her. Zhu Dan didn't want the incident to be exposed. In a state of panic, she found an old telephone cord and decided to do the unthinkable. Zhu Dan used an electric cord to wrap around Hu Jianmen's neck, ensuring he would not wake up again. She then hid her boyfriend's body under the bed, trying to calm herself after committing the crime. Afterward, Zhu Dan quickly cleaned up all traces, destroying Hu Jianmen's pager to prevent his family from contacting him that night. The next day, Zhu Dan calmly called Hu Jianmen's father and fabricated a story that her boyfriend had decided to leave for work in a distant place, needed money, and wanted to leave the city. Zhu Dan tried to act as naturally as possible, as if she were merely passing on Hu Jianmen's message. Hu Jianmen's family fell into a sophisticated deception, and no one suspected Zhu Dan, the woman they once trusted and cherished. In the days that followed, as the story quieted down, Zhu Dan realized no one was paying attention to Hu Jianmen's disappearance anymore, so she decided to take an even bolder and more horrific action. Zhu Dan disposed of the victim's body. Taking advantage of a time when no one was home, she used an old axe to carefully dismember the body, piece by piece. Fortunately for Zhu Dan, her house was located by a small river that often emitted a foul smell from household waste, masking the smell of the corpse. Zhu Dan hid the body parts in the attic, a rarely visited place. As time passed, everything faded into oblivion. Zhu Dan's crime seemed completely buried by the passage of time, but fate had its way. When Hu Jianmen's body was discovered, frightening secrets slowly surfaced. Behind the facade of a successful woman, a caring wife, and a devoted mother, Zhu Dan was, in reality, a cold-blooded murderer. The truth shocked Zhu Dan's family and friends. They couldn't believe that the gentle, respectable woman they knew harbored such a ruthless heart. Zhu Dan bowed her head in confession, but the horrors of this case would never fade from the memories of those involved. On May 26, the Ningbo High Court formally charged the defendant Zhu Dan with premeditated murder. On June 6, Zhu Dan stood trial for murder. However, in court, she recanted and denied killing Hu Jianmen. Zhu Dan claimed that she and Hu Jianmen weren't in a romantic relationship and asserted that Hu Jianmen had harassed and assaulted her. Zhu Dan denied strangling the victim with the telephone cord. She stated that Hu Jianmen had swallowed 20 sleeping pills himself, collapsed onto the bed, and passed away by morning. Zhu Dan insisted that Hu Jianmen had brought the sleeping pills to threaten her. Zhu Dan stated that Hu Jianmen's body frightened her, and she didn't know what to do, so she decided to deal with it using the axe. During questioning, Zhu Dan had admitted to using the telephone cord to strangle Hu Jianmen, but in court, she claimed she used the cord to tie the bag containing the body, not to strangle him. During 8 interrogations in the initial investigation stage, police confirmed that Hu Jianmen died from suffocation, with the perpetrator tightening a telephone cord around his neck until he stopped breathing after Zhu Dan had given him sleeping pills. However, due to the severity of the case, the High Court had not yet issued a final verdict for Zhu Dan at that time. On June 7, the court delivered the initial verdict, sentencing Zhu Dan to death for premeditated murder. However, Zhu Dan later refused to accept the verdict and appealed to the Zhejiang Provincial Supreme Court. On June 30, the Zhejiang Provincial Supreme Court denied Xu Dan's appeal and upheld the original sentence. This was the case that has shaken public opinion in China for many years, and we wanted to share it with you. Thank you for listening to today's story. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to catch more intriguing cases on our channel. Please leave your comments and feedback to help us bring you even better videos. Thank you, and see you in the next video.